One of the top producing brokers that used the title company that I worked at reached out to me, and he was like, have you ever thought about being a real estate agent? What if I paid for your school and you got your license and you could assist me? Just do it. If you fail, so what? If you've had that feeling, that thought planted in your mind, in your heart, it's meant for you.
So I'm here with Stephanie Ray. You are a realtor.
Yes.
You are an entrepreneur.
Yes.
And you are the owner of Next Door Realty.
I am.
Did I get that right?
Yes.
And we're here because the last time we recorded and met here in Austin, the studio forgot to press the sound button. So this is a do-over, and we're kind of excited about it. I kind of want to, I'm really glad we're redoing this because I've gotten to know you a little bit better, and we've talked a little bit about, your life and your challenges and your journey. Yeah. And I thought we would, being a realtor, you're a realtor, you manage Airbnbs.
I do, yeah.
Yeah, your mom, right? And one of the things on your YouTube channel that just cracked me up, you're like, you're a badass. You've done all these things, but you have on your YouTube channel, wife of an entrepreneur, right? First of all, let's talk about you as a realtor and kind of your journey. And then I want to talk about the challenges and some of those articles and some of the legislation that has recently, impacted your industry. So let's talk about your journey. Like, how did you get here? You were in Houston, right? So let's talk about that.
Yeah, so my basic journey into real estate, I was in the service industry for 10 years. I bartended, waited tables, which I am a firm believer that helped to prepare me for real estate.
How so? The people part.
Dealing with people and dealing with different personalities. You can't please everybody. I learned that. When waiting tables and bartending, you can be the nicest person, do everything right, and people are still going to be upset. So kind of managing that for yourself and understanding that, and just serving people and anticipating their needs and things of that nature, just really sharpening your customer service. I feel like that happened a lot.
Right.
Helped develop that more so back when I bartended and waited tables. So I liked that. I then tried to transition over to a 9-to-5 job.
God, I don't see you in a 9-to-5. Anyway, go on.
No, you're good. It wasn't for me. And I figured that out. I had a couple of them, one of them being a real estate title insurance company.
Okay, so that's where you kind of
started to dabble into real estate. That was before me and my husband's second kid. So I was like, okay, this is the good thing to do. You get health insurance, all of that. Got the job through my friend's mother. And I loved the camaraderie of the office. That's something that I do enjoy and miss. But I know that we can create that in a different way when we're officing virtual. And then, of course, getting to meet my clients, I get a little bit of that as well, too.
Yeah.
So I learned a ton. When I started at the title company, I didn't even know what a deed was. So I learned so much about the closing process and what the title company does. And I do feel like that was another stepping stone that helped me to prepare for entering the world of real estate.
Yeah.
So I figured out that what didn't bring me joy being at a desk from 9 to 5. And I figured that out over my time there. I got pregnant with our second kid. And I decided, I just knew it wasn't it. Talked to my husband. He's never been the type of person that's loved a traditional 9 to 5 either. So he totally understood.
Yeah.
I was like, let me just take a beat and let's have this baby, and I'm going to stay at home with our kids and just see how it goes, right? And so I had our son. I ended up going on bed rest anyway. Had our son, and one of the top producing brokers that used the title company that I worked at reached out to me, and he was like, Stephanie, I loved the way you processed my files. I loved working with you. Yes. And he was like, you're always on top of things. Have you ever thought about being a real estate agent? I was like, I cut their checks and seemed kind of nice, but no, I've never really thought about doing that. And he was like, what if I paid for your school and you got your license and you could assist me? And
we didn't get this last
Yeah.
time. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So he paid for you to go and study
my classes.
the
Yeah.
classes.
Yes. He was like, I believe that you can, really thrive in this business, and you could assist me and I could kind of show you the ropes. So I ended up just saying, why not? I, tried the opportunity out and wanted to see where it would lead. I was open, and that helped. And so I went to school, which took a little time because, I've got a newborn and all of that.
Right.
And then we have Bella, who at the time was 6, and, just different needs, different ages. So got my license, and I never even ended up assisting him. I ended up getting my own clients and just
Like right straight out of the gate?
Like within a few months.
Wow.
Yeah. I started getting clients, and I was like, I really like this. I think I'm pretty good at it.
Yeah.
It felt good. It was like the perfect alignment of something I felt like I could perform well at. And I loved working with clients. It's such a huge decision to buy a home. It's usually one of the biggest purchases of your whole life.
Right.
So getting to guide them through that was something really special. And the joy, in most cases, that people feel on closing day is just, you can't really replicate that. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it. So
yeah, and
you
don't just sell houses. Like you have some sort of fancy license for luxury homes.
Oh, yes,
right?
I do. Yes,
Here
I do have an accredited luxury home specialist.
Accredited luxury homes here in Austin. So what is that like? How did that change, your business and your approach to business? Because I mean, we're in Austin, Lakeway. I thought it was going to be this podunk, like Buc-ee's, but it's not. It's, Matthew McConaughey lives here, Sandra Bullock, Joe Rogan,
I know,
who I guess is
all
a
sorts of people.
podcaster. So like, how did you change your business, or did you integrate it into what you do?
I integrated it into what I did. I think continuing education is really important.
Yeah.
I've got 7 agents between Austin and Houston, and I am always a big, believer in like get extra designations. You can never learn too much.
Right.
We all are growing every day, and if you're not, you're dead.
Right.
So you just got to keep pushing as far as your continuing education.
Right.
So I think that it helped give me some credibility in that space, because to even get that designation, you have to have at least, a few home sales to get that. And of course you have to pass the, classes and all of that stuff.
Right.
So it's not like you just get it and you've never sold a luxury home. So I think it helped give me some credibility in that space. And it definitely prepared me. I actually got it before I came to the Lakeway area. It definitely prepared me to deal with these higher price point homes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was
what
really
was it like? Because you recently, or like within the last year, I think you moved from Houston to Austin. So you had to like, did you rebuild your book of business? Like how did that, and also you lean heavily on social media, right?
I do.
It's really cool how your
Yes.
voice comes through. Like I think
you.
a lot of people in real estate don't understand the power of social media, which is
100%.
free, right?
Yes.
And you're good at it, right?
Yes,
You're just
thank
really,
you.
it's
I've
something-
developed over the years.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
talk a little bit about that move,
Sure.
like leaving
Yeah.
your, territory and coming into a new place and
yeah.
Houston, where you grew up.
Yes.
And your
born and raised
connections
within
are
the same,
deep.
5 miles my whole life.
Yeah.
That was difficult. That was actually very emotional for me. My husband is an entrepreneur, which I know you mentioned at the beginning. He works from his computer, and then if he needs to go to special meetings, he'll fly out for it, right? So he wasn't married to where we were at. And I knew that, I can service the whole state of Texas with my license. Technically, I just have to learn the area and be competent in that area in order to service it. So it almost felt like I felt like the death of my business when we were moving.
I mean,
so
I
it was
can't
hard.
even imagine. Like, it's like leaving, a child behind.
Correct. And the business was going great.
Yeah.
I had just opened Next Door Realty. I had just transitioned over from being a real estate salesperson,
right,
which is the initial license you get,
right,
into being a broker and opening up my own brokerage. And all of our past clientele, all of my network was really embracing that and supporting it. And it was beautiful. I mean, the first year in my brokerage business for Next Door Realty, it was awesome.
Yeah.
And so that was really hard to leave. But I just had faith that if I just come here, I get connected through my kids, which is a really positive thing.
Yeah.
I've made a lot of friends and connections there.
Yeah.
I love to sponsor, local causes and things of that nature. I'm involved at the school. I'm room parent for my youngest daughter. I've kind of done it for all of the kids, but I enjoy that because the kids enjoy it and I get to meet other parents that way. So I think just connecting and focusing on just building relationships has brought me business here.
Yeah.
And what I didn't expect was when I moved here, I got referrals from agents that I networked with in Houston.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, for people that were moving to Austin. So that actually was a wonderful boost for my business here. When I didn't quite know a bunch of people, I was getting referrals and paying a referral fee to agents in Houston. So that was really neat.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And it worked out.
Yeah.
My business has grown.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you find your community.
Really
By the
cool.
way, I was a room monitor for my kids too.
Were you really?
One time because I said I
love it.
shit and I was invited to not come back.
You know, and it happens.
I didn't mean
That's
to.
funny.
It was an accident.
Yeah.
But what I was going to ask you is, you know, you make it look really easy, right?
thank
Like
you.
from the outside, it's very, you know, glamorous looking and
It's glamorous
you know,
looking, yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
And you like you say that your husband is an entrepreneur, but
Yes.
the skills that you have and the moxie that you have with your
Thank you.
marketing and your
Thank you.
voice and all of it
Thanks.
is entrepreneurial.
Yes.
Right. And
Yes,
a lot of
it
people,
totally is.
you know, go into real estate. Like there's a lot of people launch LLCs for real estate businesses.
All the time, yeah.
But it's not for everyone.
No, it's not.
So who shouldn't be a realtor?
Man, so that's a really good question. I can tell you what it takes
Yeah.
to be a realtor.
Yeah.
You have to be okay with hearing no.
Yeah.
You
a
have
lot.
to be able to dust yourself off,
Yeah.
right? And you have to be real, like self-motivated.
Right.
I think a lot of people get into the business and they're like, here I am. I've
Right.
got my license.
Right. Right.
I'm ready, you know,
Yeah.
and not everybody clings to that. I mean, well, I don't want to say unfortunately, actually, but there are a lot of realtors out there.
Yeah,
Everybody
there are.
probably knows at least 5.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So people have those previous relationships, and just because you get your license doesn't always mean that they're going to hop over and be your client.
Exactly.
You know, so it's hard for people to find clients. And I think
They don't just
reality-
show up,
No,
right?
not at all,
Right?
not
I
at
think
all.
it's that, you know, I'm a realtor now. I've got the paperwork and the
Here
certificates.
it is. Kind of like when you get a degree. I got my
Yeah,
degree.
here I am. Come and get me.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, it's work.
Right.
You are
100%.
You are an entrepreneur.
Right.
You are discovering new markets. You're
Yes.
networking. You're not getting kicked out of
Yeah.
being a class monitor at your
Yep.
kid's school,
Yep.
right? Like you're maximizing what you have, which is,
Yes.
you know, entrepreneur doesn't necessarily mean that you are, you know, creating an entirely new industry. It's how you approach business.
Absolutely.
Right. And so
Absolutely.
like
I like that.
I would say that you are not the wife of an entrepreneur. Your husband
change that.
is the husband of an entrepreneur, right? Like it's a two-way,
Yeah.
a two-way deal.
100%. But, you know, I do have to say my husband is inspirational
Yeah.
to me.
And a lot of people. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's wonderful.
Yeah.
So I think when, you know, it's funny, when I chose to get my broker's license and then immediately start my own brokerage, a lot of agents that had been considering becoming a broker asked me, well, aren't you like scared?
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of liability. And I thought to myself, well, I don't know that I've ever been scared because of the liability, because I know that
What's the
being a-
liability part? Like the
if mistakes are made
Okay.
and it costs people money, you know, things of that nature, you know, you can get sued,
right.
you know, if
but that's
you're-
in anything that you do.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And also for me and any agent that I bring on in the business and in my business, your character is huge.
Yeah.
I'm not just hiring people to have an agent count. And if anything, people have come to me, I don't ever recruit.
Yeah.
And I have a wonderful group of agents. And I also make myself really accessible, and everybody's very respectful. You know, they'll call me only if it's
Yeah.
really emergency, like if it's
Right.
outside of business hours. But I welcome people. Call me if you have a question. I'm here to
Right.
help you. But yeah, you know, I mean, you can get sued. So a lot
Yeah.
of those people were like, well, that sounds scary.
Right.
And I was like, well, you know, I know that opening my own business and putting myself out there on my own, that part seemed a little scary to
Right.
me. But my husband was always like, babe, just do it.
Just do it.
Yeah, just do it. If you fail, so what?
Right.
You know, like you can do something else if you fail or whatever. And he's like, but you've already been doing it.
Yeah.
So why can't you do this too?
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
It's
So he's
it's all
very
about,
inspirational.
you know, and a lot of entrepreneurs are like that. It's so easy to look at the pothole in front of you and stare at it.
Right.
What's going to happen? If you're on a motorcycle, you're going to get the pothole and fall over.
Correct.
Look at what you want, where you want to go. You
Right.
go where you look. And if you focus on, you know, the liability or the problems, you're going to
Right.
fail at anything, you know, not
Absolutely.
just real estate.
Absolutely.
And we were talking last week about the new legislation that,
Yes.
federal
The NAR settlement. the
Yeah,
National
so
Association of Realtors settlement.
walk us through that, because that seems to this industry a very impactful decision.
It is. And the thing about it too is there's a lot of headlines and a lot of talk.
Yeah.
But technically nothing is official yet. Now, no matter what though, the industry is going to be shifting.
Okay,
because
so
of
what
this,
does
and
the
that's okay.
legislation do? Like, let's walk through
So
that.
what it's doing is the multiple listing service, the MLS, has always put on a listing, which when we put a listing up on the internet, we're representing the seller, and we're doing that to market the property
Right.
and bring buyers and their agents. If we put it on the MLS, buyers can see it because now the internet is, you know, everybody can see everything now. But agents can go and see, you know, agent files. They can see what compensation through the MLS. That's the
Right.
big thing.
That
right?
was the thing,
That's
right?
the big thing. It's about commission, which I'm not supposed to discuss commission. That's something that, you know, is against the rules. But it shows an offer of commission to the buyer's agent. And to be on the MLS, you've had to offer it.
Right.
Right? So basically, sellers, this has been a big thing, so it's not just one lawsuit, it's been many of them, are basically suing big brokerages, National Association of Realtors, basically saying it shouldn't be on us to pay for the buyer's agents as well too.
Right.
Because it's kind of been historically that the seller is covering commissions and there's some type of co-op
Right.
in between the listing agent and the buyer's agent. So the interesting thing is that commissions have always been negotiable. They've never been set.
Oh, I didn't know that. I
Yeah,
thought it was fixed. I thought it was just,
So it's not.
oh,
I know. But the thing is that different people will act a different way.
right.
So if you're not told these things by your agent and they don't make it known that things are negotiable, you know, then it can feel,
It's a
because
perception
overwhelming.
thing, yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
It can feel like, oh, you know, like I have to pay this. But it's always been negotiable. And it's actually in the listing agreements, at least in Texas. I'm only in Texas.
Yeah, that's right.
So it changes from state to state, but it's in the listing agreements that things are negotiable, and it explains all of those things in detail there.
Yeah.
But you have your sleazy sales agents.
I mean, sleaze is
sales-
going to emerge in any industry,
Right,
you know,
right.
especially
And-
where there's huge amounts of money,
Correct.
you know.
Correct. And when you get to higher priced homes and things of that nature, I mean, some of these commissions are huge.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, they're potentially huge. So basically, they were trying to basically change things to where it shouldn't be on the seller to pay it, and that buyers should pay their own commission, buyer's agent commission. And they wanted more transparency surrounding that.
Okay.
So this settlement may, if it, you know, gets finished and closed out approved by the judge, remove commission offering from the MLS.
Yeah.
So you can't look up on a listing and see that, oh, they're offering X amount.
Yeah.
So you have to, they can still offer it. Sellers can still offer it if they choose to.
Okay.
But brokerages have to go that extra mile to ensure that they know that they do not have to pay for the
Right.
buyer's agent. They have a choice.
Right.
And that commissions are always negotiable.
Right. And transparent, right?
Be transparent.
Yeah.
There has to be transparency,
Yeah.
and that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
But yes, it is. It's interesting because the headlines are like, everything's different and this is what's going on. I'm like, well, technically it hasn't been approved
Isn't that
by
wild?
the judge yet.
I mean, we didn't.
Yeah,
like, when
nothing's been done.
I'm reading these
technically.
headlines and I'm like, oh, shit, Stephanie's going to be out of business, you know, but
I
it
know,
actually
yeah.
isn't, that isn't the case. And
No, I don't think so. I mean, that's not what I believe. I feel like there's a lot of ways to be of value
Right.
to people out there in the realm of real
Yeah.
estate, you know, and we know, you know, have local market knowledge and understand the contracts and how to negotiate things. And that's not everyone's strength.
Yeah.
There may be some people that are, really good at that, and that's great. And
Yeah.
maybe you don't need an agent, and that's totally your choice.
Yeah, cool.
But I always feel like real estate agents can add value.
I
Things may change
agree
a
with
little.
that completely, because it
Yeah.
changes the experience you have
Yeah.
with, and it's scary to spend that much money. And we were talking last week about that crazy Fortune article.
Yes.
I sent it to you. I know
Yeah.
it didn't all the way download, but I wanted to get your take on this. So
Yeah.
the whole premise, first of all, there are no real estate sources in this article. It's a professor,
you go,
right? So they're not actually out doing the
just
work.
thinking about it.
They're
Yeah.
studying.
His
Yeah.
perspective.
But the whole thing was, real estate agents are going away the way travel agents went away. And you and I were like, well, that's weird, because I just used one, last week.
Right.
Yeah. So what is
Literally the other
I know
week.
you only read the first couple
Yeah,
paragraphs,
for
whatever.
sure.
But what is your response to this industry is in jeopardy because the internet's going to take over and
Sure.
AI is going to absorb all the paperwork and all of that. Like,
Sure.
how do you respond to that?
I just feel like every situation, every person is unique.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying there's advancements. It's wild. Technology is amazing now.
Amazing.
And even as an agent, I utilize AI right now, for certain tasks. And that's helpful. It helps me get some of my time back.
Right.
But if I am not in an industry and I am not a professional that's doing that every day, I don't want to spend hours and days and, upon end trying to learn about that industry.
Right.
And in real estate, if you're buying or selling, it is so incredibly stressful, even if you're not dealing with all of the extra.
It's so true.
It is. So like for travel agents, right? Like we're going to Hawaii this summer, super excited. And I did not want to research. I looked into the islands just so I could understand maybe where we wanted to go over there. And I narrowed it down. But I reached out to the travel agent and I'm like, what's your feedback? You've been there. What are the hotels like?
Right.
Tell me a little bit about activities. Like, I want to know those things. And so that's why I think that AI can't always replace those things. I think that it'll help. It'll take some of the tasks off of agents. And what I think AI is creating too, and just the internet in general, is that you have buyers that are well informed, and that's a positive thing.
Yeah.
I think that's great.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because they're not coming in like, I literally know nothing. I don't even have a book about it. Like people are getting on the internet and they're like, oh, I've looked into this neighborhood and I kind of like it. And, those kind of things. And I think that's a good thing. I don't think it's a bad thing. So I don't think it's going to get rid of.
No, and I think,
agents.
for anyone to come out and make a broad statement, that any industry is going to be eradicated because of then you don't understand, you're not an entrepreneur, because there's always going to be someone out there innovating and disrupting. So, and it's not going to be AI, right? It's going to be a soulful thing.
Correct. And human connection is so incredibly important. I have clients, because it is such a stressful and emotional process. They're crying to me on the phone.
Yeah.
You don't want to cry to a robot.
Right.
How many times are you on the phone and you're like, one, I'm sorry.
Right.
I didn't catch that. Say it again. And it's like, nobody wants that.
Right.
When they're dealing with something so stressful.
Yeah.
So I think that human connection, I don't think it can be replaced. We're not at a point where I see that being replaced.
I don't think so either at all. And, this next question is, I hesitate to ask it because to me it feels very like what women ask women and kind of Oprah Winfrey.
Ask away. It's okay.
But it is high stress, and you are dealing with a lot of emotions, and you have 3 children.
I do.
And how do you balance life,
So I don't know if I believe in true actual balance.
Yeah.
I know that if you have to put a lot of attention in one area, something falls to the wayside a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's tough. I think people are always like, oh, I got to find it. And you may have moments of that where you're like, this is good. Like, I'm kind of doing it all.
Right. But it's like, then it's gone.
Correct.
It's vapor.
It's just fleeting, So one thing I can say is I don't do it by myself at all.
Yeah.
Like, I cannot have 3 kids, run a business. My husband's an entrepreneur. We both work, you always hear like the whole, like, I quit my 9 to 5 to work 24/7, and it's kind of true, in a lot of ways, especially in certain seasons. But we have a wonderful support system. it helps that our kids are older.
It does.
There was a lot of mental breakdowns when they were young, and I constantly, and I still do, I feel this constant push and pull in between business and motherhood and being a great wife and, you know, encouraging my husband and being joyful whenever he's like, let's talk, when it's 9 o'clock at night. I'm like, oh, I'm so tired. You know? But our family, huge help. My mom, our parents, but both of our parents have always been super wonderful. And we also don't take advantage of it like too much, you know what I mean? But if we really need help, we'll reach out. And my brother, our parents, they'll help. And I'm so grateful for that. And we also have really great friends too. Like back in Houston, I lived right down the street from my best friend. So sometimes I'd be like, can the kids hang out with you for an hour while I show a home? And she was like, yeah, sure, whatever, you know? So, and sometimes I took my kids with me, like when they were young, you know, I'd strap them to me and take them with me to showings. And I've always ran a referral based business. So I'm not meeting with a ton of like random internet leads. I'm really grateful for that, that's worked. And I've strapped my kids to me and like, we're going to show homes, kids. Hop on, you know, so
it's way better to just strap them on, show up, be unapologetic, you know.
It just was what it was. I was like, I can show you the house, but my kids got to come.
And it's kind of fun, you know? It's kind of fun. I think the whole idea of work-life balance, and even, you know, it's not just a female, it is a myth.
It is.
Right?
I think so.
It is it's impossible to get that choreography right. And then once, like, what does it even mean? Right. Like, does that mean you're not doing anything? Like, what does it equal?
100%.
Like,
and then when do you like take care of yourself and work out?
Right.
And things of that
does
nature.
That throw the balance, right? Because you're sweating. You know, I've never really understood it, but it's, you know, the media has kind of grabbed on and, you know, you have to have work-life balance. It doesn't work. Like, you're going to be leaning in one direction or another at all times.
Correct. And there's going to be seasons like, I have an agent right now. She's also one of my best friends. I love her so much. She's a wonderful agent. She just had a baby. And that's hard. You know, and then the baby's now, he's 1 and he's over 1. But yeah, I tell her all the time because she's like, oh my gosh, it's just hard to juggle it all.
Yeah.
And it is.
Yeah.
I mean, when you have like a newborn and a toddler and you're chasing them around, like, don't touch that, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But then you're trying to focus. That feels impossible.
Yeah,
and when I tell her, like, you see me now and my youngest child is 7, almost 8. I'm in a totally different stage of motherhood.
Different.
Yeah. My oldest is 16. When I was in like your shoes, I was not doing the type of business I'm doing now and the things I'm able to do now. Right. You know, so I'm like, you have to give yourself a lot of grace. And if you can, just be okay with that season and just try and make it. Yeah. Just push through.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
You can. And then if not, call me. You can cry on the phone and I got your back.
Exactly.
You know?
And it's okay to cry, right?
Oh my gosh, I just had a mental breakdown the other day.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
seriously.
but you're going to Hawaii, so you can,
It's cool. You just cry about it.
Yeah.
And then you boss up.
Yeah. You got to let it go. You can't carry it around.
Yeah.
What, you know, through this really, really cool journey, your energy is so overwhelmingly optimistic and hopeful, which is super cool to encounter in like these times.
Yeah.
What inspires you toward the greatness, right?
That's a good question. Well, my positivity, I have to say that that's something that my mother was positive, but my dad is like overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing.
And he's always been like that. Like I've heard him yell 2 times my whole life. He's just, everybody just loves him, you know? And so that's what I've always seen. And, I mean, he even grew up like in Ohio when schools were segregated, and he's, you know, a black man, and he's just still a positive guy. You know, you talk to him about it, he's like, yeah, that was kind of crazy. But he's never harbored like negative emotions about that. Right. And I feel like I've learned from that. Sometimes it's hard to stay positive. But, in my work, I am genuinely coming from a very authentic place where I want to help people. Yeah. I've never been focused on like commissions and like, you know, I have to hit this amount and I'm just running through and people are a number. That's never been how I've operated. Yeah. And I always want to maintain that. So I think when I'm coming from that part of my core, it tends to be positive. Yeah. You know, so, and I don't know. you got to stay positive.
Yeah, I mean, and
life can be hard.
Your
It's very hard.
optimism like precedes you. Like
Thank you.
before you even walk into a room, you can cut your vibe is like, hey, she's coming. Everybody perk up.
You're so kind. I appreciate that.
No, it's very,
You have a
very
wonderful
true.
vibe too. I love it.
What is your advice? So there are a lot of entrepreneurs who want to get into real estate and want to be, an agent or broker. What is your advice to, people who want to go out on their own and not just be a broker, but own their own business?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Don't sit in self-doubt too long. I sat there.
Yeah.
And I think it's normal. I molded over for 2 years before I made the jump, because technically I could have gotten my broker's license 2 years before I actually did. I thought a lot about what if I'm not good enough? Well, I think a broker may look like this, and I don't look like that, or I don't act like that, or I don't know enough people. Like, I could kind of go down the list of things that I'm not. Don't sit in that too long. You can have your moment.
Yeah.
I think it's normal.
Yeah.
Right. But then just make a plan and just start taking steps.
Yeah. It's
that's
so
the biggest
easy.
thing.
It's so easy to let other people, like your image of what something is,
Right.
define what you think you should be.
100%.
Right. And that is not authentic. And I think, one of the things with you and with other entrepreneurs is that you are authentic.
Thank you.
Right. And that's probably part of the energy, right? The vibe that you put off and, why you're so successful. So, as we're sort of wrapping up, first of all, sorry we had to do this a second time.
It's okay.
But
I'm
really
actually
not
loving
that
this.
sorry.
Yeah, I know. Same. So it's totally fine.
No, not just for realtors, but, for people and for women, do you have words of encouragement, inspiration that you can leave with us today?
Yeah. Oh man, there's so many things. Girl, do you.
Yeah.
Guy, do you.
Yeah.
It's in you.
Yeah.
If you've had that feeling, that thought planted in your mind, in your heart, it's meant for you.
Yeah.
Go freaking do it.
So I think that in parting, as we're wrapping up, the do you, because that applies to life, business,
100%.
creativity.
Yeah.
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 All right.
Just go do it. Don't think about it too much.
Yeah. So you go do you today, Stephanie.
thanks.
All right.
All right.